Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome to TFH, the Full 100. This is where the truth's told, as you know. Today is June the 30th, and it's Tuesday. And today we're going to focus a little bit on the forgotten people. In my books, prisoners are the forgotten people. Since the coronavirus situation, I have done a video, a topic on prisoners. But that was many weeks ago now, probably about 2 months now. I've been doing this now for 3 months, so probably my first month I've done that. I think it's time to revisit them. Okay, so guys, without further ado, let's get to it. Right, guys, I want to start with, you see, when you believe in something, it's not just enough to say it. You must live it as well. I was sitting down doing some work from my home the other day, about a week and a half, two ago, and there was a radio station called Milo FM who were doing a phone-in on prisons and what reforms and that sort of thing. I tabled a key question that I believe changes the game. It's a game changer. Just like those of you following my race offenders register is a game changer. I think if we give prisoners the vote, it will be a game changer. Reason I say that is this. At the moment, politicians don't have to change anything about prison. So you get the same people go in prison, come out of prison, go in prison, come out of prison. The sentences keep getting higher. When they were young in their 20s, they commit an offense and they used to get 2 years for it. Now in their 40s, they're going to be getting 6, 7, 8, 10 years. So the sentences are doing this. However, the results are doing this. Something must change. And to me, what must change is giving prisoners the vote. Because if you're a politician running for office, now, if you're running for the mayor of Brooklyn, or you're running for the MP for Reading, you got opposing parties. Now, if the total population of your prison in Reading, the two prisons combined, was a total of, let's say, roughly 2,000 inmates in that prison. Let's go to Brooklyn. Let's say the combination, the total, you got 2.5 million prisoners in America, okay? That's a huge amount. Hillary won the vote in numbers by 3 million people, even though she lost the election. But you can understand the amount of a constituency that is, okay? Now, in Brooklyn, let's say, for example, in Brooklyn, you have the same two jails, and you got numbers of, say, 4,000 inmates in those two jails. Now, if you were a politician for Labour or Conservative opposing parties, or the Democrats and the Republicans opposing parties, and you look at those numbers of people in prison and they had votes, what would your plan be? What would your strategy be? You definitely won't be promising them higher sentences. You're more likely to be promising them education when they come out of prison. You're more likely to promise them education within prison. You're more likely to promise them housing, which leads a lot of people to reoffending when they come out and there's no housing and there's no settlement plans for them. And it will lead politicians to go back to the drawing board, to reinvent their thinking on prisons and aftercare. And that plan will be better for me and you, the members of the public. Because the more people who we resettle, the more people who we look after, who change their behavior because we have a better plan in place on release, the better society will be. This is my question being tabled on Milo FM. Take a look, guys.
So I've just had an email in and I was reading it before I managed to lose you all. But let me start again. So prisoners need the vote. It's time to think outside of the box. When politicians need to campaign for prisoners' votes, it'll get them finding and searching for a better way for criminal justice and aftercare. Now, that was phase one. That was the first part of the question. So what are your thoughts on that? Any of you? Go. Love to hear from you. Judith.
Well, I think it's really important to get people's feedback. So, I think it is important to allow people that are in prison to have a voice. And I think it's hearing everybody and learning from that experience, not just the negative stuff, but the positive stuff too.
What about you, Marvin?
Yeah, I think prisoners should definitely have a voice because it's them that's really going through it. So yeah, they should definitely have a voice. They're all human beings.
And Fiona, what are your thoughts on this, giving the prisoners the vote? Or I think, Fiona, you're on mute. That's it, you're off.
Yeah, no, I think I think why not? The main thing is to get the people who are in there, one, to recognise their people, and two, to recognise the fact that they have an opinion and they may be in there because of a victim of circumstance. They may be in there and want to change. All the time there has been mention of this word hope. So if you feel part of an underbelly, you're going to stay part of that. But if you feel empowered that you have got part of a vote, although, good God, what we are voting for, I don't know, that if at least if you feel part of it, it's just another step into going, yeah, life, I'm part of the big picture.
Welcome back, guys. Now, that to me was the first time that a question that I tabled has been discussed by experts, if you like, or people in the business, and it had good feedback. Not one of them disagreed. So is it not time that we begin looking at this? We've allowed politicians to lie to us, make us think giving them a vote is the wrong thing to do. No, giving them a vote helps us because it gets them thinking of a better way to run the criminal justice system, which will then lead to better outcome for all of us. Cook County Jail is one of the largest in the country. I think the largest in the country. And at one point with the COVID going on, was the biggest generator of infections in the United States. Take a look.
Into small quarters and provided little in the way of hygienic tools. Potentially tens of thousands of America's 2.3 million incarcerated people over the coming weeks will face almost certain death. Activists and incarcerated people are begging for urgency, releasing people from America's overcrowded jails. On this episode of Why You Should Care, we are going to lay out to you why you should care jails and prisons in the United States are quickly turning into horrific hot zones for COVID-19. Now take this jail and add 1,719 state prisons, 102 federal prisons, 942 juvenile correction facilities, 3,283 local jails, and 79 Indian county jails, and hundreds more military prisons and immigration detention facilities, all with similar cramped petri dish-like conditions. Still not convinced. It's reckless to let prisoners out to go out in public and infect people. A sizable percentage of those infected with COVID-19 in jails, prisons, and ICE detention centers are the staff, guards, clerks, custodial staff. These people then leave and go about their day to the grocery store, the post office, interact with loved ones and friends, and those people then interact with people on subways and buses and streets, and those people interact with others.
Welcome back, guys. I'm actually going to give you guys the second part to that video because they done brilliantly, and only because people cared enough about these people that the caring for prisoners, caring for what happens to them made a difference. But they only cared because people outside was getting infected, because the staff within the prisons were infecting the people on the outside. So it made them have to care. If people outside weren't getting infected, people, what you're about to see now, you wouldn't see. So look at how they solved that. Not because the prisoners had the vote, but because those on the outside who have a vote were dying.
One of the state's early outbreaks inside Chicago's Cook County Jail. CNN's Omar Jimenez went behind bars to see how they're now keeping inmates and staff safe.
Inside Chicago's Cook County Jail, there's a delicate balance at play. Now, more than ever, weighing the usual demands of being one of the biggest jails in the country against the potent reality of the coronavirus pandemic.
We're walking into a particular pod here at Cook County Jail where, like all of them, they had to cut down their population about 50% as a precaution for the coronavirus here, because there are just some things you can't control in a jail, but what you can do is try and spread people out.
Sheriff, the number of confirmed cases at the jail went from 38 detainees in late March to over 250 just a week and a half later. In total, since their first confirmed cases in mid-March, more than 500 detainees ended up testing positive. 7 of them died, along with over 400 employees testing positive, with 3 of them dying. At one point, the jail was labeled by one newspaper as the largest known source for coronavirus infections in the country. Now, the numbers have changed dramatically, going from what once was a more than 90% positivity rate down to less than 1. Even in-person visitations have resumed for the first time in nearly 3 months. A lot of it stemming from here.
Just relax. Did this test make you feel any better at all?
And the fact I know I'm gonna get some results gonna make me feel better.
Testing is now among the biggest weapons the jail is armed with.
So that's a success story, okay? Now, why did I bring that? Guys, think carefully for a minute. You've just seen that video. If people outside were not getting infected, those people will be dying still. Badly. What do you think of doing a Wednesday show, a midweek show that's all about fun and all about laugh, political laugh? Like, we take political stuff that's funny. There's a lot of stuff about Trump that we can laugh about. So I'm thinking of doing that. At the end of this show, I'm going to give you a little taster of what I'm talking about, okay? But in the meantime, with all the progress we're making, Mississippi taking down the flag, loads of changes going on, loads and loads and loads. Companies are fighting Facebook to say you got to stop racism spewing. Tons of companies have deserted them that haven't even brought to you guys. So the world is pushing. Things are happening. We're pushing forward. Things are changing. Things are evolving. Okay? In the middle of all that, Trump is the only person, other than those racist bastards, the hardcore racists, who's still sticking by his guns. He's still sticking by his bad attitude, his bad behavior. Take a look at the tweet he put out today, and then we're going to have a few laughs about him. Take a look.
The spike in coronavirus cases, he did have time for 2 things this weekend: golf and using race to stoke partisan anger. He tweeted, then was forced to delete his support for what appears to be a video of supporters from a retirement community in Florida. One man is seen driving a golf cart with Trump campaign posters chanting "White Power." The White House says the president did watch the video. He just didn't hear the man before he tweeted they were, quote, "great people." The president also has yet to condemn the use of the phrase "white power." The president wasn't done, however. Today he retweeted video of the St. Louis couple who drew weapons on a crowd of protesters. There's no comment on this one, though the picture of an armed white couple facing off against white and black marchers certainly says.
Welcome back, guys. This is the last segment of the show now, okay? I want to ask you guys, have you ever called yourself perfect? I know I've never done so. I know I'm not perfect. But more importantly, do you have a mate or a friend who's ever rang you up and said, "Michael, Kevin, Philip, you're a perfect guy. You're perfect"? Take a look.
Fox News. It was hosted by Sean Hannity. And during the town hall, Trump felt that, maybe humility isn't something that he should ever explore or discover. He referred to himself as perfect. Take a look.
I think I am a friend of mine said, "You have to be the most perfect person."
They had everybody.
Welcome back, guys. Doesn't that make you feel unlucky that no one's ever told you such a beautiful thing for someone to hear? Don't you feel unlucky? Take a look.
No one's ever said that to him. No one. A, he has no friends. B, if he did have friends don't talk to you that way. Like, no one on this planet who's in a healthy state of mind thinks anyone's perfect. That doesn't exist. Like, no one goes around telling anyone they're perfect. Like, that's insane. That's what he thinks. He thinks he's perfect, but in reality, he doesn't even think he's perfect. This is like the cute little story Trump tells himself to try to quiet out his insecurities and the fact that he has to deal with the reality that he's a terrible human being. He knows it. His father told him all the time. And those voices are constantly in his head. So he's like, no, I'm perfect. No, I'm not a baby. No, I'm not. You're terrible. The worst president in US history.
Welcome back, guys. What can I say? What can I say? Take another look at the other part to this. Take a look, guys.
So first of all, I thought even for Trump, this is beyond mental. No, nobody calls themselves a perfect person. So I wanted to make sure that I saw the rest of the clip where if he's going to give a context, he gives a context, right? How? Or is there an expectation that you're a perfect person? What do you mean? No, they went to the commercial break. You saw the whole thing. And in fact, Brandon, cue it back up because if you notice, even Sean Hannity was like, "Oi," with the eyes. Like he couldn't, even Sean Hannity couldn't help it. But the crowd on the other hand was like, "Oh yeah, perfect person. Yeah, of course. That this is what a cult looks like." So I'm gonna get back into what would happen if somebody called me perfect, which is hilarious. But first, I want to watch it again. Do we have it ready to go?
I think I am a friend of mine said, you have to be the most perfect person.
They had everybody.
Isn't that true?
We'll take.
He's like, he made Sean Hannity uncomfortable. Okay, if Ben called me and said, "You have Cenk," there it is. There's no question.
Welcome back, guys. No, you know, I've followed politics my whole life, right? Seriously, literally since the age of 9. I'm not even lying to you guys. Honestly, I know it's a weird thing in a black guy, but trust me, I have. And this guy, take a look.
And said, "You have Cenk." There it is. There's no question.
Good catch, Cenk.
Oh man, I say, wow.
Oh, I wish he hadn't said that.
Yeah, wow. If Ben called me or any of my other friends and said, "Cenk, you have to be the most perfect person," I'd be like, okay, where's the punchline? Like the most perfect at being overweight, like something. Like no friend calls you and says, "Oh, by the way, I'd just like to tell you, you're the most perfect person." That's not a thing. And if it was, you'd like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And let's say that for whatever reason, so somebody did something wonderful and you just got carried away. You called someone called me the most perfect person. I would not come out here and say, "Hey, Anna, you know, the other day a friend called me and he said I'm the most perfect person."
I don't.
Okay.
Welcome back, guys. Seriously, Sean Hannity's face. Just so you know, Sean Hannity, they call him the vice president, even though he's not. He's the guy that Trump repeats. A lot of the nutty stuff Trump says, he hears from Sean Hannity. Guys, listen, we've come to the end of this show. If you like that end part, let me know any which way you can. And we'll feature things like that on a Wednesday, the midweek, the hump day show, we'll call it, the hump day show. And it'll be all a bag of laughs just to make us laugh at politicians, celebrities and the likes, okay? So guys, listen, enjoy the rest of the week and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you like my show. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you guys soon. All the best. Bye-bye now.